Computer, watch Modern Family.
Getting Modern Family from Haska Video.
Computer, watch The Grand Tour.
Getting the Grand Tour from Haska Video.
Hello and welcome to this video. I'm going to be showing you how I enabled my Alexa device to respond to Alexa watch, insert TV content here, and have the content appear on my TV, where my TV is being powered by a Nvidia Shield. So it looks roughly like this. I have my Amazon Echo Dot, and it has a custom skill registered for communicating with Home Assistant. It is a video skill, and Home Assistant responds implementing the remote video player interface. Home Assistant receives a payload from Alexa containing a media ID, and it is a IMDb based ID, and it is able to look up this IMDb ID and find out different stream URLs, and then it can use those stream URLs to deep link the relevant application on my Nvidia Shield. So this is the remote video player interface. It basically defines the commands Alexa can respond to. So you'll see them here: Alexa watch title, Alexa play title, Alexa stream title, so on and so forth. And if we scroll further down this documentation, you see the sample payload. So this is the payload that Home receives. And the thing I'm interested in here is the external IDs. So these external IDs represent the content ID. And the one I'm interested in is IMDb ID. So you can see here that I'm on the IMDb website and I'm highlighting the address bar, and you see that TT1442437 ID, that is a IMDb ID, and that allows us to reference media. So we need to get our IMDb ID into a Netflix ID, an Amazon Prime ID, a Sky Go ID, whatever streaming service you have. And that becomes a little bit tricky because there's no real API out there for doing that. So I thought about different streaming services I've seen. And one that came to mind was an application called Streamio. And the really nice thing about Streamio is it has an undocumented API that takes a IMDb ID and gives back different URLs for different legal stream providers. So this is what their API looks like. You'd see up here on the left window, it is stream/series/ my IMDb ID, and then my season number and my episode number. Now the episode number and season number are relevant for Netflix and Prime because it will just resume off from wherever you were playing. But we can stick them in there anyway. It might be useful for some other content. I just put them as 1 and 1. And in the JSON payload, you'll see we get back our Netflix URL, our Amazon Prime Video, our Sky Go. So we can use those URLs to launch the application with the URL provided, so it will know to open up that specific video. And you'll see over on the right, it's the same, except it's /stream/movie/IMDb ID. And again, we get our URLs. So now how this ties into Home Assistant is using the async play media function. So in Home Assistant, we already have a service for playing media, and that is the play media function. So I've simply taken the code for the Android TV component and I've modified it a little bit. So it takes a media type and a media ID. So immediately what Alexa is sending me is a media type of IMDb and a media ID of the IMDb ID. And that jumps us down here into the IMDb function. So it'll do its lookup on the ID using the Streamio API. It'll check what streams came back in that payload, and then it will launch the relevant function to play media. And we come down to the Netflix function there. You'll see it is running a ADB command on my Android device, and it's deep linking in the media ID. And again, same down further for Amazon Prime Video. So now that we've gone through how it all hangs together, let's take a look at a demo. So I'm here at my Alexa developer console, and you'll see that I have 2 skills. I've got Haska, which is the standard Home Assistant skill for having Alexa integration. And I've got Haska Video, which is my new custom skill, which is basically a copy of the Haska skill, except it is a video skill instead of a smart home skill. But it still uses all of the same mechanisms, same API format, same discovery, everything is the same. It just needs to be a video skill so that the Alexa device registers it as something that it can play video. So just to have a look on the AWS side, I'll go ahead and I'll log into my account. So over here we just have two Lambda functions. One Lambda function is for the original Haskell Alexa integration, and the other one is for the video integration. So if we scroll on down, we see our code, and this one here is the Alexa integration. So it's just hitting Home Assistant /API Alexa Smart Home, and we have our environment variable defined to point at my public instance of Home Assistant. And on the Haskell video one, it's the exact same code, except we are pointing at a different endpoint. So I just split these endpoints up. I didn't want to reuse the exact same endpoint for this integration, as I was fearful that light bulbs and sockets and switches and all that kind of stuff would start getting exposed via the video skill, and I didn't really want that. So just separated them out. And if we scroll on down, again, we see the base URL. So that's pretty much the configuration on the Alexa skill side. I'll jump over to my mobile phone now and I will show you the skill enable there. Okay, so I have my phone open here on the Alexa application. And if I come over to more and go into settings and scroll down to TV and video, click into that. And if I scroll on down, my Haskell video skill, and it appears here. And it appears here because it is registered as a video skill rather than a smart home skill. I can click into there and I can click manage devices. And I can see all my televisions and I can link them to specific Alexa devices. So let me link up the one we're going to use for this demo. So I can click link another device. I want to link my backroom shield. And I'll link it to the Office Echo. So that's all set up there. In order for this device to appear here, I did have to run discovery. So when you issue Alexa discover new devices. And what happens when we issue discovery is Alexa goes off and goes through all the skills, and it hits all of their Lambda functions, and those Lambda functions in turn hit Home Assistant. And Home Assistant goes through all of your entities and exposes them in a discovery payload back to Alexa. And this payload defines all of the different interfaces that the different entities support. So for the sake of the Nvidia Shield in this demo, it's the remote video player entity capability. So Alexa knows this here can play videos. So let's dive on over to the Home Assistant side of things, and I'll go through the code over there and how it all hangs together. Okay, I'm over here in VS Code on my configuration, and I've defined my TV stuff, so media platform, Android TV, backroom shield, all that. But the important thing here is the Alexa remote player integration. So this is the exact same as the Alexa integration, just I filtered down to just be media players. This is a custom component, so you can see the source code for it over here. And it is basically a direct copy of the Alexa capability, except I've changed the HTTP endpoint to be Alexa remote player, as we've seen on the Lambda function. And I added a new handler for remote video playing. So if we search in here for remote video player, we will see that it actually calls out to the Play Media service on the media player. So this will result in Home Assistant is getting a Play Media command. We can see up here, we do the parsing of the payload from Alexa. So we pull out the IMDb ID and we give that across to the Play Media function. Now the Android TV component is also custom. So here it is down here. And what we've done with the Android TV component is we have implemented the Play Media function so that it accepts the IMDb ID and the content type IMDb, and it knows how to open up a deep linked Netflix content and deep linked Prime Video content. So we can click in here and we can see our functions here. So we've got our async Play Media, async Play Media IMDb, async Play Media Netflix, and async Play Media Amazon Prime. So that's pretty much it. When we fire off Alexa watch commands, we essentially come into this code here and it starts running and bringing up the application. So I have a few breakpoints created here. So on all my functions, and I have one created as well over on the handler. Let's issue a command and we will jump through the code and we can see all of those things that I've described happening. Alexa, watch Modern Family.
Getting Modern Family from Hasker Video.
Okay, so we can see that my breakpoint here has fired and my debugger has come up in VS Code. So we come over here to the sidebar, we can see the data we received from Amazon. So we have this entities array, and in this entities array, we have a bunch of data. And one we're interested in is the IMDb ID. So we pull that IMDb out here, and we create a data dictionary that says the content type is IMDb, and our ID is the IMDb ID from what Amazon gave us. And then we just call our play media function. So let's jump on over into that function. Okay, so we're over here now in the async play media function on my Android device. You'll see here that we have our IMDb ID and my media type IMDb ID. So this is going to bring us into the IMDb function. So we can jump on over there. Okay, so we are now in our IMDb function. We've been given our IMDb ID. And we looked up the ID using the WatchHub, our Streamio API. And back from that API, we got a list of all of our streams. So we see that our Netflix one is available at this URL, our Amazon Prime one is available at this URL, and our Sky Go one is available at this URL. So I just have priority for Netflix. That's what I prefer watching. Should implement this better. Should have like a priority list as a configuration item and whatnot. But yeah, this is rough and ready. So it comes in here, sees that we have Netflix, jumps on down to the Netflix function, which is down here. So we play out that through, and you see it just sends a ADB command across my Nvidia Shield, opening up the content. So that results in the content opening up on my TV, and that's pretty much it. It's the full support for Alexa, watch, whatever on my television.